there, my beautiful, gorgeous beings of light to the Nic and Bean Unscripted. Yeah, baby.
I'm Beanie.
I'm Nic.
We're going to take you on a journey of conversations that include things like purple unicorns, aliens, real life stuff, and anything in between.
We can't wait to see where these conversations take us, because I can guarantee you they're going to get pretty cray-cray.
Well, with you in the room, Nicola, anything can happen.
That is true. Thank you for joining us on our journey. If you have any input that you want to add to this channel, we would love to hear from you. In the meantime, let's get the show on the road. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to our whatever number podcast. We're super excited today because we have Eve joining us from her beautiful Tantra Byron Bay business that we've heard so much about.
So much about.
Eve is a somatic sex worker, sexological body worker, not good with big words, relationship counselor, and passion for holistic sexuality, somatic embodiment, and transformative relationships. Boom fucking yeah. And the reason why we know about this is because our beautiful friend we noticed significant changes in our friend. And
so significant.
And we were just like, okay, what's going on? And she was just like, well, I've just been seeing this amazing woman, Eve, and she started talking about some of the stuff that you've been working through, and it blew my mind. To be honest, I'm going to be absolutely upfront with you because, you know, I guess I was just saying to you before, I've come, you know, my family and behaviors in life have been quite narrow, even though I do a lot with myself now in terms of expanding my mind, which is why we fucking run this podcast. The idea of what you offer to people and what they're getting from it just mind blew me, really. And did you want to add anything to what as an intro?
Can you just explain your green screen?
Just that it probably is the most cutting edge personal growth work that you can do right now.
I mean, like, I can't wait to talk more about it. But first of all, I just want to mention the benefits of wearing a green dress. I become
a green screen
translucent, which has been which has been a dream of mine. So I can just tick that off a box.
We could do an invisible coat, like a green thing, and put the thing over Nicola, and then she'd be disappearing. That's amazing. I love that. That's really good.
But so Eve, let's talk about your journey, and how it all kind of unfolded into this beautiful magical stuff that you do now.
Because this is like, I mean, I know the introduction, sorry to interrupt, the introduction had a lot of different things that you do. So you are a relationship counselor as well, and body worker, and then I guess I'm jumping in before you actually tell us, but then did it lead to the somatic sex educator from those things, or did you add them on later?
Well, I've always been a body worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Life, and always been interested in alternative modalities and that kind of thing. And when my marriage broke up 22 years ago, I kind of came out of that realizing I've got no skills. My conventional education has not supported me with the skills of how to create a healthy relationship or to create a sustainable sexual connection in a long-term relationship. So it was like, being that that's probably pretty important part of my life.
Totally. You know, for everyone, right? How many people will listen to this and go,
Yeah. So it was like, okay, what are my gaps? What's missing in what I know? And so that started off a whole pathway. And back in Australia 22 years ago, there wasn't a lot in alternative sexuality.
How many years ago? 22?
22.
Yeah, wow.
And there was a couple of things. And as I joined those and started to do the embodiment practices, I started to notice a connection between my head and my heart and my emotions and my yoni. And it was like, oh, my God, there's a congruency happening here. And so, oh my God, you got a dog.
It just magically appeared. I want to be a part of this.
What's his?
This is the first time this is the first time we've ever done it at the start of a podcast. He usually waits to the end, so clearly he wanted to be seen.
What's his name?
Drake. He likes your vibes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I kind of knew I was on the right path because I was coming alive in a way that I never had before. And so then I started looking overseas at all the different teachers and what they were offering. And I would either go and study with them, or I'd invite them to Australia and I'd organise their tours and their trainings. And that way I got to hang out with them, do their trainings for free and get paid at the same time. So I worked out my way.
That's so clever. I can't, that's such a good thing. I'm just like, I've banked that for myself. What things do I want to learn and have mentoring from? And I'm just, a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, joined some tribes and communities and created the Sex and Consciousness Conference in Australia.
What's it called?
Sex and Consciousness Conference, 2010, 11, 12. And then Marion took that over, and it's now called the Taste of Love Festival, and it's been going since 2014.
Taste of Love. Yes. Okay. Yes.
That was recent, wasn't it?
That was recent.
It happens every year.
Yeah. But did it happen just recently?
October. It'll be coming.
No, I've heard about it. Yes. Okay.
And so then, and 15 years ago, I started doing sessions with men, and then with women, and then with couples. And it has been quite some journey. It's such a privilege to be invited into people's most intimate lives, and to be trusted on that level. It's quite extraordinary.
I was going to say, like, into that sacred space, but for most people that come to you before they've experienced like sessions with you, it probably isn't in a sacred space for them yet, is it? Like if I think of like myself through life, but other people, I do kinesiology by trade as well for the last 14 years. And I think about like just the different things and stories for people and how much we are really quite shut down in that area, or so open in it that it's not really in a connected way, right? Like that and I can speak for myself as well, as a lifetime, I know, like pre-10, I was really promiscuous, like probably too much in an age thing. If that's a thing, it's like, what, to the point where I got myself into a situation which then turned me the other way. So I became so closed to everything. I was in survival mode after that. Like it was like nothing, what do I do, until I got into my 20s. And then I was like, I didn't think I liked men, but I wanted to try and be normal. So then drugs and alcohol would allow me to go and do things like that to try and be normal, until I finally admitted that I really like women, and probably too that felt safer as well. But I would say, I mean, I know when Nic said we're going to have a session with you, like that really excited me, because I saw I saw her open up in a way that I'd never seen her open up before. And I could see that as an energetic proposition that could ripple through your life in all fields, just because of that inhibition. And it's not really just about sex or sexuality in essence. It's about freedom and uninhibited, right? Like it to me, it sounds like what you do changes the elements around any of that to be sacred, to be open, to be in flow. And if you can open up that and flow in that, then you have that energy flow through all avenues in your life. Right?
Absolutely. Everybody arrives with their conditioning. Yeah. And we unlearn and we unpack, and it's about coming back to self and no longer abandoning self and no longer neglecting our own needs, and really developing that level of self-connection and self-awareness, so that we can really start to identify what our actual sexual values are, what our standards are, what our needs are, what we truly desire, not just, you know, what we want to do in the sexual Olympics, but
or what we think we
like,
should do,
or who we think we should be. But actually being able to get out of here, take that journey into the body, make that connection to our body intelligence that's speaking to us in every moment of every day. Yeah, realizing, oh, I'm my own guru. Yeah, that's what I'm here to be in alignment with. Yeah, learning to trust yourself.
Amazing.
Yeah, and learning how to set your limits of engagement. Yeah, your limits of participation, so that you're not burning, you know, you're not burning yourself out or frying your nervous system in the process or losing yourself.
And and having that respected as well, you know, like if someone's like, I think with us, not that there's disrespect, but just different personalities. Like I'm a bit more introverted and Nicola's a bit more extroverted. And when you were talking, I was thinking about dancing then, you know, like some people to lose their inhibitions, if it was to be like a little bit more benign, not that it's not benign, like doing the sensual part, but like just to have dancing, and you see how people can stay in a space until they're given permission. And, you know, there's a reason why they had discos with the lights out so people could just go nuts and feel freedom. And it's almost like yours is, you know, the next step along in that way, but to also have people do it in their own time and feeling comfortable in that, to learn those healthy boundaries for themselves rather than someone else telling them that they should be in that space, or
to have that level of connection to your own inner authority.
Can
not be following somebody else's needs, desires and wants, to really, you know, understand we're each individuals with individual needs, individual desires, individual wants, and we're actually here to meet each other where we're at. Not where we think we should be, not where we want to be, but can we meet each other today where we're at? Can we be that authentic? Can we be that real with each other? Can we, because, you know, we're here to be in union rather than bulldozing or, you know, unhealthy domination, unhealthy submission, where we're playing power games with each other.
Can I ask, you know, so when someone comes to you, and I know this is going to be probably difficult to do, but what is their general, you know, they come to you and they go, what do they come with you at? Like, do they go, oh, I have no desire for sex, or what's the general, you know, feeling?
Or they to think they're just getting body work and then you just
No, I think like my clients that come now have a hunger. They want to learn. The pain point has been hit, the struggle, they're so tired of it. They want to grow.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
So the question was, when they come to you, what do they usually
what do they come with?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually really predictable. Because conventional sex creates dysfunctional symptoms in our minds and our bodies, and everybody's bringing the same dysfunctions and the same symptoms, right?
And so
because conventional sex is not a holistic system. It's a partial system where it's a power over power under system.
Yeah. And so do you find that it is just mostly single people, or is it mostly couples, or is it quite fair?
It's both. You know, men are coming with their ejaculation issues, their erection challenges. Men and women are coming with genital numbness, UTIs, being unable to orgasm. Couples are coming, this mismatch of libido, not knowing how to articulate the elephants in the room. There's, you know, like it's just so predictable of what people are bringing in response to to a sexual approach that doesn't work. And so I say, that's those challenges are actually the doorways. That are taking people into a deeper inquiry into who they are as an erotic being and how they're approaching their sexual energy and how they can do that from an empowered place. Because conventional sex doesn't teach empowerment.
No.
Can I just touch with the UTI? Because UTI, I mean, that just blows my mind, right? Because UTI, usually, I mean, you go to the chemist, you fucking douse the fizzy shit down and, pray that it goes and then it comes back again. And can we talk a little bit about, let's say I was to come and I've got constant UTI issues. You're basically saying, from what I'm hearing, is that it's a gateway and that potentially resolving it energetically by understanding more of who you are.
Yeah, I see it as it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. It's advising you that your approach is out. And by having a deeper connection, by actually going into dialogue with it, we can actually work out why it's here and what it's got to teach us. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And so when you're in therapy, I think one of the things that really blew my mind is that you're actually undertaking yoni massages and utilizing that experience with that person to guide them to understand more of themselves. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I offer full body work, which includes breast touch, genital touch, anal touch, if that's appropriate.
Wow.
Every single
She got you on the anal.
Yeah, it's a no-go zone for me. I've tried so many times and it's just it's like the doors are just jammed.
It's a portal. And it's really having someone that will go slow enough for you. That's the whole key. Yeah. We're usually trying to, like, that's what conventional sex is. It's hot and it's hard and it's fast, and it's all about tension and excitement, and we're pushing ourselves into our sexual energy, right? And that's, the active components, yes, that's one part of sexuality, but there's also the receptive aspects of cool and soft and slow and being relaxed in your arousal. And so many people don't know how to be relaxed in their arousal because the mental chatter and the ego is all about got to do this, got to do that, and all this the mask wearing. And everybody's pretending they got a black belt, but they haven't done the white belt training, right?
It's so true, so true. And then I think about my 20s. I mean, in that space, it's such a how old were you when you broke up with your partner?
33, I think.
Yeah, amazing. So, and I think about, because 20s, I mean, obviously we're conditioned for such a long period of life, but I just know that in that space of your 20s, there's so much insecurity and there's so much, lack of love for yourself, and you're literally, fucking dishing yourself out to any guy or girl that will fucking accept you. And there's such a discord, do you have thoughts on that? Like how to bring, how we go into that space with connectedness,
sensuality, I guess.
Yeah. There's something I do want to go back to before we go to that bit.
Yeah.
Can I just go back and say, in sessions when we're doing full body work, it's a listening. We're really listening to, what's the appropriate engagement, what's too much and what's not enough, what's too hard, too soft, too fast, too slow. We're really working within our limits. And most people say to me, oh my goodness, nobody has ever gone that slow for me. And, you know, sometimes I'm working in stillness inside somebody because,
What does that mean?
Like no
well,
movement.
we can have penetration in stillness.
Mm.
And then what happens when we actually have that is all the internal energetics start to wake up. The internal sexual energy starts to run.
Because
So
it feels safe?
sorry?
Because it feels safe in that is in a sense, or
Well, yeah, yes, we've worked through safety, but it's like we're now not trying to do our sexual energy. We're now allowing our
allowing it.
sexual
Yeah,
energy
right.
through us. So we're not trying to manufacture anything into being.
Mm.
We're listening because it's going to take us way beyond what we ever knew was possible.
Mm.
Yeah, we're trusting life. Now we're moving into eros rather than sexuality. So
What's
Mm.
eros?
eros is mind, body, spirit,
It's life, isn't it?
universal
Yeah, all of it.
sexual energy
Yeah.
on a universal level, rather than just this head genital limited understanding of what we think sex is.
Mm. Yeah, that's
God,
amazing.
that's so just like I'm just literally bewildered. This sounds so incredible. Can I ask before we go back to the other question, because it's probably a bit more futuristic, with the sessions, let's say, you're working one-on-one with a woman, and then, they're starting to understand the scope of what they can experience. Do you have times when they go back to their partner and it's not, like, and navigating that terrain with a partner, that potentially may or may not understand, or, maybe a little bit limited,
Yeah.
what's your experience with that?
Mm. Yes, there can be a little discrepancy, but you are learning in learning how to deeply connect to yourself. You're then learning the articulation skills of how to communicate your needs. Yeah, how to say yes when you mean yes, how to say no when you mean no.
Mm.
You're becoming in alignment, you're coming into congruency with what it is that you want, and you become less and less interested in going against yourself.
Mm. And would that be from you as well? Because I know we used to have a wellness center where we offered massage, and every now and then you'd get that like phone call or someone coming in and asking for a little happy ending or something like that. And so would there be times, because you're doing this sensual work with people, obviously you'd have to have boundaries as well, because they might, I'm not saying they're immature. Yes, I am. You're the mature one in the room on this
Sometimes.
on this level. Well, you'd say most of the time, really, because they're coming in for guidance from you. And I would probably assume that every now and then, because people are human, they would cross a line perhaps sometimes, or get too excited. Or is there a thing there where you have to like bring the boundaries in and go, okay, I'm glad you're expressing yourself here, but let's just
I would have to say that 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 quality of energy in the early days was a little bit more prevalent in my practice, but it hasn't entered my practice for years.
Amazing.
That's because of what I hold. That's because of the level of integration in my being. Soon as someone opens the door to me, they feel me. And I don't have any clients that would disrespect me that way, because I'm putting in certain signposts throughout the session before we move into the massage room. We've already had an hour and a half of conscious sex conversations. We've already worked out what our limits are, and we've made an agreement. I'm super clear on my boundaries. I'm always closed in my sessions. I it's I'm there to support my clients to connect to themselves. It's not about connecting to me.
Yeah.
And if I do internal work, I always wear gloves. Yeah, I'm always clothed in my sessions. So yeah.
And can I ask about couples, because Beanie and I are going to come see you. Yeah, I want to know how that rolls. Like, are they literally, are you orchestrating the dynamics?
Or are you doing the massage? Is that what you mean? Like, is
Well,
she
I mean,
hands
I
on doing the
imagine,
massage?
I don't
You're
know. Yeah,
orchestrating us
sure.
doing it?
Awesome question. Awesome question. So whoever's receiving, yeah, they're learning how to become an empowered receiver. The receiving is for them. So they get to say what it is that they're calling in for themselves, what qualities they're able to say, what kind of touch, what pressure, what pace, what they may be wanting to experience or learn or feel. It's really up to them. And then myself and the other partner are in service to assisting them to connect more deeply to themselves.
Right. So it's like a professional threesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're unlearning, right? Because normally we're trying to give and receive at the same time, and all the sexual shadows are playing out all at the same time, right? So we're separating giving and receiving. And so the person that's receiving, they're the one in power. They're the one that's learning how to advocate for themselves and with whatever it is that they need. So that when those resistances arise to receiving, they're learning how to meet those resistances, how to breathe and sound and move through those resistances to clear their channel of experiencing their pleasure.
I feel like I'm getting a clearing while you're talking. So, like, seriously, you're just talking, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, what was that? And I was like, tingles and, like glassy eyes. And I'm like, I feel like you're almost like the words that you're saying and that freedom in it. And not that I don't feel free, but just I can see and feel like as you're talking how uninhibited it can, like that, those inhibitions.
We're disentangling. We're disentangling from a disempowered sexual model that we've all inherited.
Totally. And I think it's interesting when you were talking then about, one person's always receiving, one person's always giving, and the togetherness, even like you're doing it like this. And we were having a conversation the other day with some friends who are in heterosexual relationships, and we were talking about our relationship, and we were talking about orgasms and everything else, and how it's great to think of that. But I said, as a same-sex couple, it can become quite task oriented, and it doesn't mean there's not love in there and there's not whatever, but it's not always that face-to-face thing, right? It's like you said before, someone's receiving and someone's giving. So there's that part, but then can people be under an illusion, like you said before, like if they're heterosexual or strap-ons, whatever they want to use in their relationships, that they are joined together face-to-face doing any deed, that can that fall under the illusion of feeling more connected?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite understanding.
So I guess in a like lesbian relationship or whatever, same-sex relationship, potentially one person's down doing a task and the other person's just receiving and having pleasure. So I can say sometimes, even though you're connected to them doing it and you want to pleasure them, it's not that face-to-face body together, really together being in that space. But you can still be really with that person no matter where you are, but can it be an easy or lazy illusion that because in a heterosexual one you're connected together like this face to face, that connection is greater? Or does it make you lazy? I don't know.
Does that mean
I think the illusion is around unhealthy dominating and unhealthy submission, And because we omit conscious sex conversations prior to moving into touch, when we say, oh, I'm doing it to them, like usually when we ask somebody what would you like, for the most part, you'll get an I don't know. You'll get a I don't know. You know what you do it. Like there's that vulnerability and that awkwardness around verbalizing what they really want for themselves. And for so many people, they have no idea.
Because they do it over a dinner menu, right?
That's right. They haven't gone any deeper than conventional sex. So they actually don't have that level of connection to their body to actually take a moment to check in. Well, what is it that would really support me into feeling really grounded and centered and anchored and connected to myself?
It comes from that insecurity too, doesn't it? Like I know when people have, in many situations, like turned around and said, especially for women, like, did you get, did I get it right? Did you? And it's like a lot of the time women don't orgasm in heterosexual relationships, and they believe it's a normal thing. Like if they got one orgasm a year, like that was like, that's enough for me. At least I'm being touched. Or that's not enough for me per se. That's what they say. It's definitely not enough for me. But it's like we make do, and being touched is enough of a connection in that space. But then with men, like that idea of like, I mean, a lot of men, and I know this is a gross generalization, but from my experience of hearing from people, like a lot of men don't really care if the woman has, been aroused in that situation. It's more like every hole's a goal, and at least I got what I needed. Thanks, that's done. And there's no even thought about that. And from women I've spoken to, like it's like, well, at least I was getting touched, and at least I had that connection. But to me, I'm like, you could have just had a handshake with someone, and it wouldn't have been as violating as it, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if people just take that as their connection, then they're violating themselves in a sense of not taking the boundaries that like you might teach them, but also allowing them to have more, like allowing them to have a true connection by accepting that less.
Well, again, we're working with a conventional model that promotes unhealthy domination and unhealthy submission. And so whilst ever we're playing that game, it's always going to move into it's dysfunctional. And it's not until we start to have these conscious sex conversations and start to articulate what we need and what we want and desire and what our limits are prior to moving into touch. I mean, that's our setup. We're setting up our opportunity for amazing connection because we're learning how to honor ourselves every step of the way. That is the way.
Which crosses over to everything in life, right? Like this is, it's not like that person just walking in and with that face, oh, did you have sex last night? Because there's a cheekiness or something. It's a walk into the office and like put the books down on the bench and just go, like you would see it. I can just see these people walking around with a ray of like rainbows following them because they finally felt that connection to themselves more than anything. Like to me, not having experienced it, and we are definitely going to do another podcast after we've experienced this process to talk to people about that and say after, like as a lead on to this, because I think it would be really interesting just because I can see it so much. I feel like a little puppy. Like I feel like a little puppy when I just when I saw my friend and when I talked to you, I'm like, wow, I feel like everyone should do it because even the thought of doing it for most people would be no fucking way.
Well, this is the thing.
And for partners to go, you can't do that. That's like almost sexual. And what does that mean about us? Because it would get all of their inhibitions and all of their insecurities and all of their things that they want to shut down. Again, in a conventional, I get it. and you're teaching to.
I think people are waking up, to go to professional sessions. It's not like you're going to a sensual massage with a happy ending. You're going to a session where the practitioner is not personally involved with you. It's a professional session, and you are there to learn how to connect to yourself more deeply. And so the parameters are different, and I think there's a lot more liberation. I have a lot of clients whose partners say, go, I want you to learn.
Yeah. Well, the smart ones would anyway. Go again. What you did last night was fantastic. You're looking
and
amazing.
I have a lot of individuals come and then they go, I'd really like to bring my partner. Can we start doing more sessions so that we've got the same languaging and we're on the same page and we're working together?
And do you say to them, excuse me, just because I know with kinesiology, someone will come and then they go, okay, I'm booking an appointment for my boyfriend, or I'm booking an appointment for my son, or whatever. And I always say they have to be in it. It's best if they can make the appointment themselves, and in that sense to make sure it's not just them forcing them to come, kind of thing.
Yeah, they've got to be willing. They've got to have their own intention and what they're wanting for themselves. But most sessions I do, we have 90 minutes first up before we move into touch. So that's our time for, filling in gaps and building trust and rapport and connecting to each other and all getting on the same page, so that by the time we move into touch, everybody's nervous systems are completely relaxed. Everyone knows what the parameters are. And because we're working this side of our boundaries, we're never going over our boundaries. Yeah, that's for the next session. It's like, we want to have these experiences where I'm learning to trust. I'm making the choices. I'm coming into alignment and congruency. Yeah, and I'm having that experience and I'm building my internal safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I think.
And so next time we can raise the bar. But for this time, I want my clients to walk out going, whoa, that was awesome. I got to feel what it feels like to have a completely safe sexual experience of deep honoring. And next time I'm ready to up the ante.
Yeah.
And we do that incrementally. So that we're not burning ourselves out in the process.
Do you see yourself offering this as a teacher's, training people in this realm?
I probably will get there one day. I've just finished writing a book. It's gone to formatting. It'll come out September, October. It's called Sexual Boundaries, Sexual Mastery.
Oh, amazing.
A step-by-step guide to sexual empowerment. So everything that I teach is in this book, and it goes through the embodiment and the communication and everything you could possibly want to know about building sexual empowerment for yourself, because your greatest sexual satisfaction is how much you allow yourself to connect to yourself first and foremost, and then secondly, how much you connect to your lover.
And with that too, with obviously being passionate in this area, do you have a vision about how we can improve, this, construct of conventional sexuality, or, do you have
Absolutely. So we're very blessed in this country that consent education is now mandatory in all of our schooling systems, but the piece that's missing, boundaries and consent are different. They're like, brother and sister, they go hand in hand. Boundaries is the study of being able to feel your limits within your own body. To become embodied, to be in your body, to trust the sensations that you're feeling, feeling and to work in alignment with that. Yeah, so that's sexual embodiment. And that needs to come alongside consent, because consent is the agreement process. Yeah. So we need both of those to be taught from a young age. I mean, you know, sexuality is, I mean, it just starts at such a young age, and we need our people empowered. We need our kids making quality choices. That, you know, like there's no quality education.
It's almost like you have to have one of your sessions to kind of educate your kids about the opportunity of being connected to yourself, you know, so it can kind of start that, you know, that reverse of the clock.
Well, it's the start of self-worth as a sexual being. Yeah, to actually you don't have to overgive to get connection. You don't have to overextend. You don't have to overstimulate. Yeah, to get love, to get connection, to get touch, to learn, oh, how do I do this from a connected, aware place?
Again, like a life lesson of, like, it's a bombshell moment, right? For people, if they can do that, that's not just you know, that sexual side is teaching them that greatest life skill. Because if you said that to anyone, like if anyone had to learn that, like that's it right there, because that's where we can grow from. That's where we can learn openly from. You know, that's where we don't need our ego to, you know, teach us as much, because we are mature, we are grounded, and we are understanding that we have choice and respect and connection and contact, and like all of it, like everything you've just said just bottles up into that, like your statement for anything. And that has to come from, you know, parents understanding and allowing it and not being in fear. I mean, it really comes from people being out of fear, doesn't it? Because otherwise they'll stop it. Like if someone said that, you know, oh, we're getting Eve in to talk about boundaries and sexuality and inhibitions and everything, like you can imagine the misunderstanding of so many people going, I don't want my child to have that. Well, I don't want my teen, when I say child, I'm thinking about 14-year-olds even, which is imperative for, because I think it's probably 12 now that have to have that chat, you know, to understand what even is sensuality in that. And their ignorance would stop anyone that it was close to them to be able to experience it, because they're so afraid of what that meant.
Yes. Because they're only looking through to sex through that conditioned, conventional lens of the domination and unhealthy condition. Yeah, they don't have it. They're not aware of a holistic model. Yeah, because it's not mainstream yet.
Do you think religion has a lot to do with that as well? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, religion is, power abuse is rife on our planet.
yeah, totally.
And I go into this in my book around sexual trauma and sexual assault and sexual abuse, and how, you know, we need to widen our understanding of what sexual trauma is. Sexual trauma is any time we disassociate, any time we're overstimulated, any time we drop out of presence, any time we shut down, any time we go into freeze, into sympathetic nervous system. That's a trauma response. It may be a micro trauma response. There's macro trauma and there's micro trauma. Yeah. But it's still a trauma response to shut down or to freeze or to disassociate. To understand, oh, I can be relaxed in my arousal. I can be safe in my arousal. And to have the skills of how to create that for yourself. with your beloved, to have a beloved that is willing to move into practice with you. Yeah, having a practice partner who is willing to do conscious practices of sexuality together so you can learn together.
Yeah. And then would that have like the waterfall effect of that healing, like you said, anyone who's ever frozen, or like all of the tiny little times when we don't choose, and because we carry all of those, right? Like it's a cellular thing, like we've got it all following us. And I say it's like toilet paper on a shoe, but it's like any of those micro moments. And I think, the Me Too movement really woke up a lot of people. And of course, there's going to be elements where some people think stuff went too far and everyone just was being something, but you almost need it to be that bold to
pendulum had to swing the other way,
right, and it had to get every single person. I mean, I was aware of my past, but it actually made it light bulbed a whole other part of me that I was like, fuck yeah, there's so many spaces that I just gave away my power and shut down and did all of the things that you've just spoken about. And I can imagine there would be, once you open up those gates of your own sensuality and safety and choice and like empowerment, that it would just be that like domino effect of like, like a lot of women find it hard to forgive themselves or to allow, to be okay in those spaces. And I think just the acknowledgement, and that's what with the Me Too movement, it was that acknowledgement that something did happen to them, that it wasn't okay, that they didn't feel okay in it, but they did it because they thought they had to. And you're talking about, it's easy for people today to turn around and say, oh, well, I would never do that. But 30 years ago, like society was very different. So what was brainwashed really as a norm in all of our subconscious minds is what women were and what men were. You talk about, like, not you, but like people will do TV shows when they have to go back to the 40s and how many kilos they lose because they're doing it the conventional way, and everyone goes, you used to do all of that, like it's so different. But thinking about like the days when a wolf whistle was actually a compliment for women, right? And I'm not saying it was, but like women felt so insecure that they would go, oh my God, I got noticed.
What crumbs we accepted.
What crumbs we accepted. I remember reading an article, this guy said that women over 30 should never wear short skirts. And I just think back to that time. I would have been in my early 20s and I took it on board, and I have had the slimmest, like whatever body my whole life. Obviously, for reasons of my past, I didn't like see it that way, but other people would. And now looking back after going through menopause and everything else, I'm like, wow, that was a banging body. But like, again, I forgot what I was talking about.
You're talking about the wolf whistle. Did the wolf whistle, and then how we accepted the wolf whistle, and then
I can't remember. Sorry, I get menopause brain sometimes. It does, or too excited in my conversation.
I hear we're talking about the evolution of sexuality over, over the years. And what I love right now is that we have all the info now. We have all the information we need to be able to approach our sexuality from an empowered place. Yeah, so that we can move into healthy domination and healthy submission, because that's super fun.
Yeah,
right? It's not fun when it's unconscious, right, and when it's unhealthy, but it is super fun when we start, oh wow, we're both in our power moving into this. Nobody disempowered here. This is a power with experience. I'm allowed to dominate. I'm allowed to take my pleasure, right? Let's own that hunter in us. Let's own that taker that wants to take their pleasure. Let's put all of those hunting strategies on the freaking table. Yeah, we don't have to camouflage. We don't have to pretend that that's not who we are. Yeah, we're allowed to own the taker in us when it's conscious. Yeah. And when the other person is consciously giving access to their body from this limit to this limit. Yeah. And I think that's a big piece that women have not known how to do. You know, women will go, oh, you're all right. Let me open and give you everything.
So you can feel like a man.
Instead of, so you can, it's like you're used to being penetrated from A to Z in one jump. Instead of oh no, it's incremental. There's B and C and D and E and F and G, and I'm opening incrementally as the trust is built between us. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game, because then we're honoring ourselves each step of the way, and that's how sex becomes sustainable over a long period of time. When we're too hot, we burn out too quick, because we're running too much intensity for our capacity. Most of us don't have the skills to run that level of hotness through our bodies and our beings. We try and we end up losing ourselves or burnt out. We're pretending we've got the black belt, but we haven't come back to self, and we haven't done the white belt training of it starts here, self-connection. And I'm learning how to become an empowered receiver so that I can learn how to become a masterful giver. Because empowered receiving informs how to become a masterful giver. If you're a giver with that and you don't know how to surrender, then you've missed all the developmental pieces.
Oh, fuck.
I was thinking about.
I'm a bit of a bubble burster.
That's great.
I'd like to say I'm joking, but I was like, that's me.
I think about my journey, and oh God, I remember in my 20s, I was so fucking insecure. God, I was just like I was a fish on a fucking fishing rod that would take anything that was dropped in that space of wanting to feel loved and connected. And whilst I'm not that same person anymore, I definitely, speaking to you, I can feel the sense of control that still exists in my relationship today, in that sexual orientation, because of, I think, my past. I think because it's given me that sense of control of being dominant, even though I'm not dominant in a way of like taking over, but I still play that role. And it would be I'm really intrigued to see what would uncover by, obviously having a session with you and coming into a new space of it all, and what comes from it, because I get so excited with the opportunity of going to another level of expansion, that, because this is a ripple effect. Our friend, they're having their session, but the way they carry themselves, the way they're interacting with the world, the way they're seeing themselves, the way they're showing up, is, it's a ripple effect. And so I'm
the lack program, I call it the lack program. I'm not this, I'm not that, I don't have enough, I'm not enough. The lack program that we all. It's like we're tying that off and tidying and really coming from a place of, oh, my needs matter and I am worthy just by my very existence on this planet. I'm worthy.
That's beautiful.
And in that association, you and when this is continually practiced and repeated back to you, you begin to embody. You embody your own self-worth, and you're just not willing to go against yourself anymore.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we're so booking. We're so
have we booked in? Have we booked in? Or are we just talking about this?
Yeah, we're just at the moment, but we will. Eve, it has been such a pleasure. I think this is the least I've talked in any podcast, because I have been totally absorbed in every word you're saying, because I just think there's so many golden nuggets that I am yet to experience, as a reality, that I can't wait to do and have with you. And I think if anyone is wanting to reach out and feels inspired to connect deeper to themselves, or even deepen their partnership with their partner in an intimate relationship, or even because it is a ripple effect, of a consciousness level as a companionship, moving life together, please, we'll obviously attach all the links, tantrabyronbay.com. You can find Eve.
Sure. And my book's coming out in probably September, October, Sexual Boundaries, Sexual Mastery.
Amazing. Can't wait to read that one. But I can't wait to experience a session with you.
Yeah.
I feel a deep calling to it, like from seeing our friend and then Nicola saying we're going to do a session. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
All in.
Beautiful.
All in.
Thank you so much for your time today, Eve.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Did you love that as much as we loved it? Because we love learning and expanding so much as a community.
So like and subscribe so we can get our tribe bigger than ever and keep sharing amazing content. And until then, we'll see you next time.
You!